Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are talking about the third and final Doctor Who 60th anniversary special, The Giggle. So, this special kicks off with a cold open in 1920s London, where a man by the name of Charles Banerjee goes into a toy shop to purchase a Stooky Bill ventriloquist dummy that he is hoping to use to transmit the first television signal with his inventor boss, John Logie Baird. Upon entering the shop, he is greeted by the Toymaker, this eccentric fellow that has a German accent and has a real love for toys and games. And upon striking up a conversation with the Toymaker, we see Charles Banerjee really start to get uncomfortable, especially as the Toymaker starts going in and out of his German accent, which really gives you the feeling that he's putting on an act and he's really not who he says he is. Charles is able to purchase the Stooky Bill dummy. He's able to get out of the shop and return to John Logie Baird, where they are successful in transmitting the first television signal, which is an image of Stooky Bill. It should be mentioned right off the bat that the Toymaker is a villain that appeared in the classic Doctor Who series. He appeared in one story from the first Doctor's era and has not been seen again. In fact, the original story is lost to time, even though the BBC is coming out with a animated reconstruction of the original episode. In that original episode, the Toymaker was played by a British white guy, but was of Asian descent, and that is something that definitely does not sit well with modern audiences. Here, the Toymaker is played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is putting on a German accent. But as I said, he's kind of dipping in and out of different accents throughout this exchange with Charles Banerjee and throughout the entire episode, which gives you the sense that we're not really sure what his origin is supposed to be, and that he's likely doing what he's doing in order to throw people off. I really like what Neil is doing here. I have seen him in a few episodes of a series of unfortunate events and think that he plays a villain really well, but I wasn't totally sure whether or not he would just be doing a Count Olaf impression or if he would be doing a Barney Stinson impression, because Barney was very much known for donning different disguises for various sexual exploits, and so I didn't know if he would come off as a caricature here, but he does come off as someone that is very conniving, very threatening, and it was really great to see the performance that he gave throughout the entire episode, which we'll talk more about. After the credits, we pick back up with the Doctor and Donna in 2023, right where we left them in the last special. They are amid the chaos as there are people shouting in the streets, there are cars barreling into the intersection. There is a great exchange between the Doctor and a pedestrian that he tries to save from oncoming traffic, and when he confronts the guy about why he is walking into oncoming traffic, the pedestrian tells him that it is because it is his right to walk wherever he wants, whenever he wants. And it is right here that we get the first indication of what exactly is going on here, as the pedestrian tells him that just a couple days prior, everyone in London started to believe that they were right about every single thing all of the time. Amid the chaos, the Doctor ends up running into the Toymaker, who at this point he doesn't know who he is and what he's doing there. The Toymaker is just there with a cane and a top hat, a nice suit, and it is just kind of reveling in the chaos that is ensuing around them. The Doctor wants to investigate more, but it's at this point that Unit shows up and escorts Donna and the Doctor to the Unit headquarters. I should say before we move on that in this scene, we learn that Wilf is okay and is going to again be taken under the care of Unit to make sure that he returns to safety. As we know, Bernard Cribbins was not able to film any other scenes after his cameo in Wild Blue Yonder, so we do get a Wilf stand-in here, and it is unfortunately very noticeable that we have a stand-in here, but given the circumstances, I understand it, and I'm still glad that we get this closure on Wilf with him just being brought to safety. At Unit HQ, the Doctor and Donna are debriefed by Kate Stewart, who tells them that a couple of days ago, everyone in the entire world started to believe that they were right about every little thing. And so there's been all of this chaos that has ensued as people are fighting in the streets, they are fighting on television. There is just mass chaos and hysteria everywhere as everyone is so convinced of their moral rectitude. It is also here that the Doctor reunites with Mel Bush, who was his companion when he was in his 6th and 7th incarnations. We get a nice little bookend to her story that now she is working for Unit, and it's a really great interaction, I think, for a lot of the classic Doctor Who fans. I am not as familiar with this character, but I do look very much forward to getting to continue to watch classic Doctor Who and see the relationship between Mel and the Doctor. The only thing that is keeping Unit HQ members from going completely crazy is that they're wearing these armbands called Z-Decks, which help to block out any brainwaves that are trying to distort their thoughts and make them paranoid. But we see in this scene that Kate orders her Z-Decks to be deactivated in order to show the Doctor just what exactly is going on. And once they shut off her armband, we see in a matter of seconds that she becomes very paranoid and is very skeptical of the Doctor and his alien origins, and is also very skeptical of Shirley and her disability because she is an ambulatory wheelchair user. I didn't get to talk about Ruth Madeley's performance as Shirley in my Wild Blue Yonder review, but I really love this character, and I love the way that her disability is presented in these two specials. Ruth is an ambulatory wheelchair user, and even though I am not an ambulatory wheelchair user, I do understand that people who are always get the claims thrown at them that they are faking their disability, that they don't need their mobility aids, and it is something that they have to face on a very frequent, if not daily, basis. And I really love to see the ways that Kate Stewart's biases really creep in here. Other people have said this, but I want to echo the sentiment that when we're dealing with unconscious bias, you don't have to be this overtly racist person or this overtly ableist person to have these biases. I think Russell T Davies did a really good job of showing the way that unconscious bias can creep in and can get the best of even the seemingly nicest people. And so I think this was a brilliant way for Russell to be able to show this. Once they're able to get the Z-Dex back onto Kate's arm, they're able to analyze the waveform of her brain without the influence of the Z-Dex, and when they play the waveform as a sound, they realize that there is a striking similarity to a laugh. Most notably, the laugh of Stooky Bill from the first television signal that was sent out in the 1920s. And it is at that point that the doctor is able to deduce that that image, that sound, has been transmitted through every single television broadcast since then. This really reminds me of The Idiot's Lantern and the situation we had in that episode with the wire being a video image that was projected through every single TV screen in London, and I think it is a very cool callback to that episode. I really love the speech that the doctor gives here, where he is basically telling Kate and the entire Unit HQ, and really the entire human race, that the reason that they have been so easily exploited in this situation is because they have this propensity to fight with one another and to have to want to get the upper hand with each other, and that if they weren't like this, they would not be in this situation. And I think that is a really cool message. It is a very striking social commentary because in this day and age, everyone thinks they're right all of the time, and everyone has to put their opinions out on social media or in any conversation. And I think it's really cool to call that out because Doctor Who is a show that should be praising humanity while at the same time being able to criticize it and hold up a mirror to say, hey, this is who you are. And if you're not careful, you are going to be exploited and you're going to find yourself in a danger of your own making. It's a really, really striking social commentary that I think works really, really well here in the modern day without being too preachy. Once the Doctor and Donna realize that this Giggle is being transmitted through the first television broadcast, the Doctor and Donna take the TARDIS to 1920s London to figure out where the signal really originated from. It doesn't take them too long as they happen upon the Toymaker's shop, and the Toymaker does not do a very good job of putting on his poker face. And so the doctor and Donna rush into the toy shop where they confront the Toymaker, and the doctor finally realizes who it is that he's up against, and he warns Donna to head back to the TARDIS. Of course, she doesn't listen, and as the Toymaker vanishes through a door, seemingly into thin air, the doctor and Donna chase after him, being led on a wild goose chase as the Toymaker has manipulated the toy store, so every single time they open a door, they are just in the same corridor that they were in previously. And they are basically left to wander this toy store door after door to try to find him. Here we really get to take a step back and check in with the doctor and Donna to see what it is that they're making of all of this. And Donna really wants the doctor to take a step back and take a breath and not have to constantly be going and going. And the doctor is prompted to continue doing that because he feels responsible for so many things, and especially for the Toymaker being able to come into the human realm because of the myth that the Doctor invoked in the last special, that he feels he needs to solve it as soon as he possibly can. He feels like because he was too clever that he put people in harm's way, and I think that's really weighing on him because there is so much that the Doctor carries around with him at all times that I don't think he really has ever stopped to take stock of any of the things that has happened in his life. He just feels this enormous weight on his shoulders that he needs to take on in order to fix the world's problems. The Doctor and Donna split off, with the Doctor ending up encountering Charles Banerjee, who has played a game with the Toymaker and lost, and is now turned into a puppet, and Donna, who also encounters more puppets of the Toymaker that are trying to kill her, though thankfully in epic Donna fashion, she is able to get the best of them, and it is so much fun to see her being her sassy self as she is going up against these homicidal puppets. The Doctor and Donna finally are able to reunite and locate the Toymaker, who leads them into a puppet show of his own creation. Here, he basically gives Donna the rundown of what exactly has happened since she last saw the Doctor, detailing his adventures with Amy Pond and Clara and Bill, and letting her know that things did not end off with those companions as swimmingly either. In this entire exchange, the Toymaker is really trying to get the best of the Doctor and remind him of the various ways that he's technically failed the rest of his companions, while the Doctor keeps trying to make excuses for why their fates weren't as bad as the Toymaker is letting on. Stephen Moffat gets a lot of flack for not really being able to let go of any of the companions that he writes. He doesn't write traditional deaths, and in some ways you can make the argument that none of his companions really die, as the Doctor says, and that there's always some way in which they are saved. I've never really thought that any of the companions from Amy to Bill really got off that easy. In fact, I think many of their fates are pretty bleak, even if they technically cheated death. And I think it's interesting that we have two different sides of the conversation here. We have the Toymaker who is saying, yeah, you let them die, and then you have essentially the audience surrogate, which is like, well, no, they didn't die. They cheated death. If anything, their lives turned out perfectly fine. And I think it's so interesting to see that dichotomy because of where I rest on the situation, that I'm more in line with the Toymaker, that I think even if they didn't die, they still didn't have good endings. To basically stop the goading from the Toymaker, the Doctor challenges him to a game of cut the deck. And so that's a situation where whoever has the highest card ends up winning the game. And unfortunately, the Toymaker ends up winning that game. However, the Doctor reminds him that he had won the first game in their previous encounter, and just because the Toymaker won the second round, it does not mean that he has won the game, as there's one inviolable rule that all players must abide by, and that is best of 3. And so with that in mind, the Toymaker says, all right, see you in 2023, and he disappears off to the modern day. The Doctor and Donna head back into the TARDIS and rush to London in 2023 to warn Unit HQ what's about to happen. And they are right on time, as just as the Doctor is explaining what it is that happened, the Toymaker arrives and has this brilliant performance where he lip syncs to the Spice Girls' Spice Up Your Life. It is a really cool little performance that is probably the biggest thing that Doctor Who has ever done in the history of the show, and I think Neil Patrick Harris knocks it out of the park because he is such a showman that, of course, you have to have him do something like this in an episode if you have him there. After this performance, the Toymaker disappears and basically ends up reappearing on the deck of Unit HQ, where there is this big galvanic beam that is meant to shoot down a Russian satellite, which they have deduced is the reason that this Stooky Bill image is being transmitted to every TV in the entire world. And you never want to have an evil genius with a big laser beam, because it's always going to mean trouble, and it definitely does here, as the Doctor goes to reason with the Toymaker and is promptly shot down by him. In the Toymaker's own words, he played the first game with one Doctor, he played the second game with another, and if they're gonna play a third game, he needs to play it with the next Doctor. The Doctor starts to regenerate. He is emitting regeneration energy, and he's seemingly ready to go, which is something that the 10th Doctor was not really known for. He was very scared of dying, and he had this hubris about him that he was not willing to give up his life so that another Doctor could take his place. But here, he is ready and willing to go, and he even says, as his last words, allons-y, which is French for let's go. However, this regeneration is seemingly different, and he doesn't regenerate right away. So he asks Donna and Mel to pull on his arms, and as he does that, we get the 15th Doctor splitting off from the 14th Doctor. I'm going to devote more time to the bi-generation in a bit, but I want to focus on ending off the Toymaker plotline here. So we get the two Doctors splitting off from one another and challenging the Toymaker to a final game, which is the first game ever invented, catch. This is a really fun sequence. It's very simple, but it's very fast-paced. It really shows the power of the Doctors and their strength, which is something that I don't think is really on display in Doctor Who very much. And it's just a really fun back and forth that we get to see until the Toymaker is defeated and banished from reality forever. I really loved the Toymaker plot up until this moment. Like, yes, I enjoy this being the final standoff between the Doctors and the Toymaker. As I said, I really enjoyed the Spice Up Your Life segment, but I really felt the idea of humanity being at each other's throats and everybody thinking that they're right all the time would be something that played out more and showed more conflict in the episode than we ended up getting. It really felt like that was just a springboard for the Doctor to go find the Toymaker and then be taunted by him. It didn't really feel like that conflict ended up being anything too significant for the rest of the episode. And that does make me a bit nervous for the Russell T Davies era moving forward, as I feel in more than one instance throughout this 60th anniversary celebration, we have central conflicts that get resolved pretty quickly or don't have big ramifications. Either way, I still think that Neil Patrick Harris really knocked it out of the park. In this role, I would be super down to have him come back to this role again. It was a lot of fun to get to watch him play around in this space, and so I can't say that I fully hated this concept. I just didn't love the execution. So now we get to the bi-generation. And this is a scenario where essentially because the Toymaker is existing in the human realm, he has allowed it so that bi-generation, which is a Time Lord myth, now seemingly exists, at least in this moment, which is a springboard for the 15th Doctor to show up really at an earlier point than they should have been able to. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not this was a good idea and what it means for regeneration going forward. For most of the audience, I think that regeneration is meant to be this kind of somber event because there is this person that's going away and a new person is coming into this role. And so you're saying goodbye to one era and you're saying hello to another, and there's just this kind of bittersweetness about it. And the bi-generation can kind of cheapen that goodbye, because now the 14th Doctor gets to continue on. It's just that they're no longer at the forefront of the story anymore. Upon my first viewing, I also felt that way. I felt like it kind of cheapened Regeneration, it kind of cheapened the story for the 14th Doctor, and really cheapened the arrival of the 15th Doctor. But now, with more time to stew on it, I don't think that I feel that way anymore. Every single Doctor has had a story arc, and all you want from a Regeneration is for it to really hammer home that story arc. And the thing is, I think the Bi-Generation really does that for the 14th Doctor. Throughout these 3 specials, we really get the point hammered home that the Doctor needs a break. They have been going and going and going for billions of years, and they've never stopped. They are now getting to the point where they are being run ragged, and if they do not stop, they are going to ruin themselves. With the arrival of the 15th Doctor, we get to see the result of the 14th Doctor taking that break and putting in the work to rest and come back even stronger to be this 15th Doctor and continue going on their journeys, just now in a space where they have done their healing. And I think that's a really cool storyline that hasn't been done on Doctor Who since its inception, that I think really, really works here. I said in my last video that one of the things that's really great about Donna's story arc throughout the entire show and into these specials is that she is someone that had something taken away from her. She didn't get to spend the last 15 years traveling with the Doctor and doing things that made her feel special and important. But even though she didn't get those experiences, she went on to have a really great life with a great husband and a great daughter, a mended relationship with her mother, and a continued great relationship with her granddad. She is very, very proud of what she has accomplished in her life, and that's something that 15 years ago she could have never imagined being able to say. She tells the Doctor that just being able to live her life is one of the greatest adventures that she could have ever asked for. And I think that Donna really rubs off on the Doctor in this way. He sees this life that she's built. He's seen that everything that he's fought for over billions of years has allowed people like her to build these lives that are seemingly ordinary, but are really important because they're important to them. And I think that is something that resonates with him as he realizes that he's running out of gas, and maybe it's okay to take a break for a little bit and put his energy into something else. However, this doesn't really take away anything from the 15th Doctor. They still have all of the memories of their previous incarnations. They are still the same person. They're just a person that is healed and is now ready to take on the universe once again and be able to help it because they've helped themselves. And I think that is a really beautiful send-off for David Tennant's Doctor and for Donna. And it really makes me excited to see where it is that Ncuti Gatwa's doctor ends up. I will say that even though this doctor seems fully realized, I'm still hoping that we get a dynamic doctor, because I don't want to see the doctor without conflict. I don't want to see the doctor without something that he has to work through, because I want to see the doctor continue to grow, and I don't want him to ever be this being that just has it all figured out and is just this godlike person, or alien, I should say, because I think there's so much more to the Doctor than that. But I will reserve judgment until we get this Christmas special and, of course, the next season of Doctor Who. Upon defeating the Toymaker, the 15th Doctor and Donna convince the 14th Doctor that he needs to take a break. He needs to step away from saving the world and go live a quiet life with Donna and her family for a while, so that he is able to heal and come back as the 15th Doctor, stronger than ever. Even though he is reluctant to do so because he doesn't want to give up the TARDIS, the 15th Doctor is able to gift him another TARDIS due to the Toymaker's realm continuing to merge with our realm for a little bit longer. And so the 15th Doctor is able to go off in one TARDIS, while the Doctor and Donna are able to go off in another and go home and have a nice little quiet life together for a little bit of time. As I said, I think this is a perfect ending to the Doctor and Donna's stories. I think that it is going to be very interesting to see what Ncuti Gatwa does with the 15th Doctor and how his storyline goes for however long we have him on our screens. And I am very, very glad that we got to have this opportunity to have David Tennant and Catherine Tate back on our screens again in 2023. And I am very, very excited about the future of Doctor Who. That's going to be all for me today, so don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when I post a new video. And until then, see you guys later.